For our final spot report, we're going to go back to Stephen, Janis, and Taya Graham, our two amazing hosts of the Police Accountability Report, which you can see airing on The Real News here on our YouTube channel every Thursday night. You should check out their work. You should follow them on social media, and you should absolutely subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out every week's new episode of the Police Accountability Report. But Stephen and Taya also do a lot of great work investigating kind of larger questions about inequality, right? And they've been contributing installments to an ongoing series called the Inequality Watch. And obviously, not only under Trump, but under Biden, there's going to be a lot of focus on what the Biden administration and a Democratic Congress is going to do to address the massive issues with inequality that we face in this country. So Stephen and Taya, let's throw it back to you and hear a little bit about what you're looking out for in the coming months and years when it comes to the question of inequality.
I mean, I think this particular issue is probably the most important because I think inequality is fueled, honestly, ironically, the rise of Trump and the sense that the Republicans somehow can occupy a populist space because Democrats, when they've had power, have been stymied in their efforts, if they were really sincere efforts, to address inequality. I mean, really existential is inequality. And I think coming up on that, and the most important thing to watch is the $1.9 trillion proposed, coronavirus aid package, because it's targeted mostly at working families, not PPE, loans to businesses, but actually, people and working people, as you said, who have suffered probably the most under Trump of any group. And I think that, quintessential to that is the Democrats seizing that issue and somehow not always losing the rhetorical battle over this, right? They continually lose.
Yes.
Because I don't think even Obama's they're good at expressing just how aggrieved the American middle class and the American lower middle class, how out of balance our wealth inequality is. Thomas Piketty famously in his book, talked about wealth inequality not being the, inevitable consequence of capitalism, but rather ideological, right? And I think the Democrats have lost that battle over and over again, whether it's not because they're far too influenced by corporatists or whatever the reason is, they lose it. And critical this time is for them to be able to stake out a space where they're talking about issues, Max, like you're talking about, basic meat and potato worker issues. We see it over and over again. In Baltimore, Tay and I did a very detailed report on a building downtown, a hotel, that received a 25-year what's known as a pilot, a payment in lieu of taxes, tax break, where the owner of this $150 million hotel didn't have to pay any taxes at all for 25 years, no property taxes. But they also refused to give workers a minimum wage, a working wage, or health benefits. And so, it was a perfect example of the kind of sort of neoliberal policies that this is in a democratic city that Democrats have embraced. They have to take a different rhetorical perspective, because if they don't win the rhetorical battle, they're going to just, I think, again, lose power, and they're going to give the Republicans the ability to occupy the space and say, you know what, we're the party of the working class. I mean, really, and Max, I'd be interested to hear what you're saying. It seems in some ways that Trump has, I mean, I know friends of mine from high school who I follow on Facebook who are, contractors and working class people, and they are predominantly Trump supporters. And this is because the Democrats have lost the ideological and the public discussion on inequality.
I think Stephen makes a really good point before we go back to you, Max, because Democrats have been losing this rhetorical battle. Democrats are known as the party that likes to spend money, that likes to hand out money, that likes to run at the deficit. Well, we know for a fact that President Obama put the country back in the black after President W. Bush, ballooned our deficit. Then under the Trump administration, lovely tax breaks were handed out to the upper class, and our deficit ballooned again. And now we know that the Democrats are going to come in this time under the Biden administration and have to rein back in that deficit spending. And every time the Democrats are in charge and get back a little bit of power, once again, the Republicans become deficit hawks and start complaining again and again about how we have to manage money, even though they're the ones that ran up the tab.
But the ideology that always ensnares Democrats is neoliberalism, because it's something we discuss a lot on our reports. We talk about a lot because it's really quite essential. when the Democrats abandoned the idea that, there was a public good or a public way to, improve people's lives and look for private solutions. I mean, this is a very, superficial synopsis of that idea, but Democrats are always ensnared by it. I think it'll be critical to see, can they do, a $15 hour minimum wage? 70% of the people support it. Can they get that done? Can they get the coronavirus package done at 1.9 trillion? Can they break the cloture in the filibuster? Will they be willing to do it and not like sort of retreat to this public-private partnership or some of the things that we've seen in cities like Baltimore that have really only exacerbated inequality?